All right. Let's get into it. Well, it's another Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
This is a happy Friday.
I
get to have a cigar and I get to have a whiskey.
Yes.
And then I can say that we're still working.
This is work.
This is work.
It's awesome.
It's hard. We're hard at work right now.
I don't know.
It ain't much, but it's honest
We've
work.
made a lot of bad decisions in our lives, business-wise, personally, military-wise. But we've also made a couple really good ones.
A couple.
and a couple of those really good ones have led us to be able to be here on a Friday.
Yeah.
Smoking and drinking whiskey, doing a podcast.
Listening to freedom.
And so let's celebrate those good decisions.
Yeah.
Little Woodford today, double oaked.
I don't know
double oaked
the last time I had this one. It's been a minute.
I like this one the best.
I do
too.
The
Woodfords, I believe.
Cheers. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
let me get this thing lit. We can go into this.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun episode.
I think so, because we don't really have any agenda. We have one thing that we're going to cover, and it was a weird thing you have experienced in the cigar
It was really cool
world.
Well, let's go over some other stuff first.
Yeah.
I'd like to get into a little bit about, you always hear people talking about what you should do and what you shouldn't do with a cigar or in a lounge or, etiquette wise or something like that. I think we should touch on some of those, but at least give our opinion, because all of this is just opinions. There's no right or wrong way.
Sometimes there's a right or wrong answer. Sometimes
there's no wrong way to smoke a cigar. It just changes your experience.
Yeah. But there's right and wrong etiquette.
There is 100%.
Yeah.
But there's no right way to do this. The only thing it does is there's tips and tricks and there's advice. But if you don't follow any of it, you're just going to have a different experience smoking.
That's true. And it might be a poor experience.
Quite possibly.
Right.
Or it could be awesome. You could have found out a new trick like we'll get to in the show and we'll show you guys.
Right. So that being said, you want to cover how to cut a cigar?
Yeah. We can do that real quick.
We'll quickly cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on a follow-on episode, we'll actually go into like the different kind of cuts and all that kind of stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. But the proper way to cut a cigar, if you look on your cigar, there's
two lines.
There's two lines, and it's really easy to see on our night shift because they're different colors. So your cap is your first line. Your second line, I don't know, what do they call it?
The head.
The head?
The head of the cigar.
So you never want to cut below. You never want to cut the head off a cigar.
No, that's your last line of defense.
Yeah.
If you cut below that, your cigar is going to unravel in your mouth.
In India,
back
in the day, they've been known to behead people, right?
Yeah.
So Indian is too much. American Indian is a scalping. You want to scalp your cigar. Okay. You want to get just below that first line. Scalp your cigar. Don't behead it. It's a great analogy, right? American Indian your cigar. Hence the statue.
Scott, I think that is going to go down as one of your best analogies to date. That was fantastic.
The worst part is I don't know if that's racist or not.
I mean, I don't know either.
It's recreational. It's okay.
I don't think it's racist.
No.
It's historical.
That's true. That's awesome. But yes, so take as little off of the cap of the cigar as you can and still get a good draw out of it. That's our recommendation on how to cut it. If you're using a V cut, obviously that it's only going to cut so deep. So you just put the cigar in the V cutter and you cut it.
Unless it's a tiny little baby cigar, then you got to watch out.
Because then you might cut through the head of that cigar, and then it might unravel. And then lighting it, we recommend you toast the cigar with a butane lighter, just because butane's a clean fuel. It's not going to alter the taste or the flavor of the cigar. Like if you use lighter fluid, your whole cigar is going to taste like lighter fluid.
Like a Zippo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But toast it, warm up the whole base of the cigar until it's evenly toasted. And then when you light it, apply even heat throughout the whole foot of the cigar.
the least amount of heat as possible
Yep.
is preferred.
Um,
if you char it, then you have issues.
Yeah.
I think we covered that
we did.
last episode. Yeah.
You don't have to touch the flame to the cigar. You can leave a little bit of a gap. And then make sure you rotate the cigar as you applying flame to it, and you're good to go. That's the easiest way.
Yeah.
There's a million different ways. But
Now, that being said, if all I had was a Zippo,
I'm still smoking a cigar.
right.
Yeah.
If it comes down to like, I'm either going to smoke the cigar if I get it lit by any means necessary.
Right.
Or I'm not going to smoke the cigar. I'm going to smoke the cigar.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Like Tim with Cigars Daily, he lit it using a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked.
If I was stranded on an island and I had cigars and no matches, God, I would figure it out.
I will find a way.
Yeah. I will find a way.
I'll be rubbing two sticks together for the next 10 years. But yeah.
So today I'm smoking the 762, the Rosado, which is kind of my go-to.
The 762 Garrison Rosado.
Yeah. And so with the Woodford, silence.
I know, right?
No, it does change it. It's different than when I normally drink my other go-to Jameson. It mellows the cigar more than the Jameson. I don't know. I think it's because in the Rosado, I don't get too much sweetness ever.
Yeah.
And I think with the Woodford, I'm getting a little bit of like caramel.
It's kind of there's a lot of, I don't know, that caramel sweetness in the Woodford. But go ahead.
So why does, when you pair a cigar with a different drink, whether it be coffee, Kool-Aid, bourbons, tequilas, why does it change?
Why does it change? So I'm going to go on a limb here because I don't know if scientifically this is true or not, but it makes sense to me.
Right.
So when you're drinking, you're coating your palate, for lack of better words. You're adding in those flavors into what your mouth is tasting and what your smell is tasting, essentially. And so when you go and you change whatever you're drinking, and then you go back to that same cigar, you're going to get different flavor profiles off it because of that coating that's already in.
So essentially, you're mixing flavors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. Like every now and then I drink tequila, and completely different experience on the cigars.
Yeah.
At that point.
You know what I've really started to thoroughly enjoy with cigars is mezcal, because it's so earthy and smoky. It brings out some flavors in cigars that I was just like, ooh, okay. Yeah. I got hooked on that in Mexico City. I was just like, oh man, it's another bad habit.
And then I have a feeling a lot of people that are listening probably are newer cigar smokers. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what gives you the flavors of cigars.
Okay.
So when you smoke a cigar, in your nose is most of your taste buds. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if you're not familiar with the term retrohale, it's when you let a little bit of cigar smoke out of your nose. You don't inhale the cigar.
Yeah.
You just, as you let it out of your mouth, you let a little come out of your nose. And if you've never done that before, that's how you get the real flavor of the cigar.
Be careful when you first start doing it.
Yeah, I would say like you let 90% of the smoke out of your mouth, 10% out of your nose. It's probably a good way to start it. But boy, does it change the experience if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
Because like when I'm busy, I don't necessarily retrohale. I don't think.
I think I do on every cigar that I smoke, and I just don't know I'm doing it. I think it just becomes such a, like you just did it and you didn't even notice.
No, I did on purpose there, but
I was going to say, I know. So I know for me personally, because I smoked cigarettes back in the day when I was in the military.
Right.
When I exhaled smoking a cigarette, I blew air through my mouth and my nose.
Right.
So when I smoke a cigar, even though I don't inhale it,
right,
I still push a little out my nose. And it's not like I'm trying to do it like, oh, I'm going to retro this, blah, blah, blah. It's just one of those things that happens. But I think that allows me to enjoy a cigar more.
Have you seen people struggle to try to retrohale?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. I have a drink of whiskey in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously not inhaling the whiskey, but I can still exhale out of my nose with the whiskey in my mouth.
Right.
You can do the same thing with smoke in your mouth. You just hold it there and then you exhale.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that would help people who don't know or haven't retrohaled before.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people like do all kinds of weird stuff.
Also, yeah. It's like they're having a stroke. Yeah. It's like, dude, like
I can't breathe out of both at the same time. Yeah, you can. You do it all the time. You just don't realize it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's jump into some etiquette stuff, some do's and don'ts per se.
Yeah.
Of the industry.
Yeah.
We talked about cutting and lighting. There is the more you smoke, the more you'll realize that cutting and lighting the cigar definitely makes an impact on your experience with that cigar. The better job you do at cutting it, the better job you do at lighting it, the better that experience of smoking that cigar is going to be. Ashing. When do you ash a cigar?
I ash as soon as I think it's in danger of falling on my lap.
Yeah.
You like to smoke it until it falls on your lap.
I've always said it. The best place to ash is in your lap.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I say that because you can damage a cigar by trying to ash it too much.
You can.
And it's not so much the like if you're just rolling your ash in the ashtray.
So, for example, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but how I ash is on the side of the ashtray. I put side pressure on the ash and it just falls
and just
off.
A little roll, a little touch,
and it falls fall right off.
But there's a lot of people that'll ash it like a cigarette. Well, they'll tap on the cigar. They'll try to hit it on the edge of the ashtray. Mm-hmm. The chances of you cracking or damaging the wrapper by doing that are very high.
Yeah.
And so you do that, even if you don't see a visible crack in it. If you did a stress fracture in that wrapper and then your heat is starting to get close to it from smoking, it could pop that wrapper. And then now all of a sudden it looks like you have a construction issue. But what really happened is you damage the wrapper by ashing it aggressively on an ashtray or tapping it too many times or something like that.
How else you can damage the wrapper is when you take your band off, right? So it's put on by hand with the
it's a plant-based glue.
Yeah. There's a name I can't remember. Yeah. Starts with a C, I think. But anyway, so you can damage it because some of that glue can actually glue your band to the wrapper.
Yep.
Right. And so, if it's just a little bit of over, they use a little too much or whatever. So the best way and the best time to take off your band is kind of where I am now, because it's allowed the band to get warm as you smoke it. And so it makes that glue come off a lot easier.
Right. It starts to loosen the glue for the heat.
Now, we totally fucked you when we came out with the night shift. It's a big band and it's hard to smoke close enough to it to get the glue warm.
Right.
And they use a lot of glue. So these bands are difficult to get off.
I would still recommend to get close to it, though.
Yeah. If you can, the best way to get the night shift band off is to slide it off the top.
Yeah.
And so I even damaged it a little bit there.
Yeah.
I pulled a little bit of the head off. So, but that's a good way. That's a good way to do it. If it's not too, if it's not too tight.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What's your opinion on, I know our opinion is going to be drastically different than your average cigar smoker. But what's your opinion on sharing cigars? Not like the one you're smoking, but like, if you go somewhere, do you always bring extra cigars?
Like you said, ours is different because I own a cigar brand.
Yep.
So typically I have a cigar or two to share out of Scott's
you're not walking into a cigar lounge.
Yeah.
Like you're hanging out with friends and people and around, things like that.
Yeah.
If you're going to smoke a cigar, which you're going to.
Yeah.
Are you going to bring extra in case somebody else out there is like, oh man, that smells great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's some don'ts? So we went over some do's. Do this, do that, do that.
Let me see that cigar that's in the ashtray there. When you're done smoking a cigar, the proper thing to do with it is to set it down and let it go out.
Yeah.
Right. What's the stinkiest part of a cigar ash?
The butt.
The butt, right? So when you take this and you're done smoking it and you do this number, right?
Yeah.
That it's completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Well, so another reason that not to snuff it out or snub out your cigar in the ashtray is the way the cigars are rolled. A cigar won't burn on its own. It's not like a cigarette. Once you light it, it'll burn all the way down until it's done. Actually, I think they just changed that because too many people died smoking in bed.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
if they would.
It used to. Once you lit a cigarette, you used to light it and it would burn no matter what. Now, I think it'll go out after a certain amount of time if you don't drag on it. But a cigar, if you stop smoking a cigar, stop puffing on it, it'll go out.
Yeah.
All on its own.
Yeah.
Right?
It might take, 5, 6
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
But it'll go out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if you're actively smoking it. Even if you're not, it still goes out. But when you put it down in the ashtray, it just goes out on its own. You don't have a big plume of smoke or anything like that. It just goes out.
Yeah.
If you snuff out that cigar, you're breaking up all the tobacco that's rolled tightly together, and it's allowing more oxygen to hit that tobacco, and that burn will actually continue to burn and produce way more smoke if you snuff it out than if you just set it down.
Especially if there's a breeze.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so if you're setting it out to have it go out, no more smoke, by snuffing it, it actually creates more smoke than if you just drop it in an ashtray and let it do its thing.
Yeah.
Yep. That was one of the things I want to talk about. Do you lick your cigars?
I do not.
Why not?
Because I don't have to.
So why do people lick their cigars?
I think some people, I don't know. I think maybe because they think it holds them together better.
If you see somebody licking their cigar before they light it, they pick up their cigar
I have
and lick the whole
seen
thing.
people slobber.
Oh yeah, strings of saliva,
lick the whole cigar, and I don't.
So if you see somebody doing that, and don't do it rudely, but if you strike up a conversation with that person, you ask them why they do that, I guarantee you their answer is going to be, well, this is how my dad or my grandfather or my uncle or whoever was older than me that smoked cigars, this is how they did it, and this is just how I was told or taught or shown to do it. Back in the day, before technology and humidification systems and humidors and things like that, people would lick their cigar before they lit it because sometimes a wrapper would be dry.
Oh,
and it would add humidity so it wouldn't grenade on them while they're smoking it.
Right.
Well, today, you don't really have to do
if you take it out of a humidor, it should not grenade.
No.
Unless there's like extreme temperature changes.
But even then, licking it's not going to do anything. You know, there's but that's at least from what I've read and learned.
So let's talk about what you're actually licking. So it takes 300 sets of hands to make a cigar.
Yeah, from seed to the end user.
And I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but the quality control is sometimes they suck through it to see if there's a drag before it's lit.
Yeah,
it's usually before the wrapper's put on.
Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not.
It's afterwards, and they just put in. They fix the cap.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's and it's not saying that there's anything bad or wrong with your cigar. You know what I mean? But like, you're smoking it. Obviously, you're putting one end of it in your mouth.
Yeah.
But there's no like disinfectant they put on the tobacco.
Well, I think it's been proven over time that you're not going to catch anything or whatever.
Not at all.
But
there's just no reason to lick a cigar.
No. Like sometimes the only time there's one caveat to that. If I see it starting to unwind, I might lick it just a little bit just to stick it back down. Like that would be the only time I've ever really licked a cigar.
Yeah. Also, if you're borrowing somebody's cutter, don't put the cigar in your mouth and then cut it.
Yeah.
On your own cutter, do whatever you want. I don't care.
But then don't lend people your cutter either.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, don't slobber in your cigar and then use the house cutter or ask your buddy for his cutter. You know, go ahead and do it like dry draw after you cut it, whatever. But yeah.
Another thing, right? So my cigar right now, it's burning a little unevenly, right? So it's okay to touch it up and then it'll burn evenly.
Right.
Like that is completely okay.
Yeah.
If you see a cigar getting out of control, why are you just going to let it? It's like if you are veering into the other oncoming lane and you just take your hands off the wheel.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Hope for the best, right?
Yeah. No. Maybe it'll self-correct.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays there's a good chance if you have all that fancy technology, but look, like now my cigar is completely even, right? Like
it's too easy.
Yeah, too easy.
What are some other stuff? Don't put a half smoked cigar in your humidor. I've seen this so many times. Terrible. And I get it. You enjoy this cigar. Right. You don't want to smoke the whole thing. You might want to save it for later. That's not really how cigars work.
It goes back to what's the stinkiest part of the cigar.
And then all the rest of your cigars taste and smell like
a burnt, like an ashtray.
Yeah.
Like a burnt cigar.
And getting that smell out of your travel humidor or whatever, it's so
impossible,
hard. Yeah. But yeah.
And let's talk about that. If you want to smoke the cigar later,
you get two options.
If you know you're going to say something comes up and you have to leave your cigar for a minute and you know you have to leave it, the best thing to do is to blow through it.
Yeah.
You're cleaning out all the smoke
that's just hanging out.
That's hanging out inside the cigar, right? And then just set it down, let it go out on its own.
Yeah.
And then when you go to relight it, knock off all the cold ash. Because if you try to light through ash, one, it's an insulator. It won't let you light the cigar properly. And two, you're going to char that ash and then it's really going to taste bad.
Yep.
But I think there's a shelf life on a half smoked cigar. I've done it for overnight and I've gone back to smoking a cigar because I'm lazy. Like I go outside, I'm like, oh shit, I smoked this whole cigar. There's half of one that I left there from last night. I'll give it a try. And if it's doable, I do it. If not, that was a mistake. I'd put it out and get a new one. But there's definitely not back in the humidor, even if you cut it off. Even if a lot of people take the straight cut, they cut the burnt off.
Right. It's
still going to make your whole humidor smell like an ashtray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of that, we just covered a little bit of the basics. We can go on for days.
You want to hit some lounge etiquette quick?
Yeah. Let's knock some of that out, and then I'll tell my my interesting smoking story, and we'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
So lounge etiquette. When you go to a lounge,
let's talk about owning a lounge for a minute.
When you go to a lounge, you're essentially using that lounge's space to hang out. They're paying rent and employee salary and electricity and TV and internet and all that fun stuff that you get to enjoy while you're there.
The overhead.
Yeah, the overhead. So number one on my etiquette list for a lounge is if you go into a lounge to hang out and smoke, buy a cigar.
Yes.
That's it.
Like my
don't bring your own.
My personal rule, like our situation's a little screwed up too, because we own a brand and we go into a lot of lounges. And so there's two sets of rules I play by.
Yeah.
One, since I'm a brand owner and I'm going into a lounge, I don't always buy a cigar because I'm there for business. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll smoke one of mine. I'll give them cigars. But if Scott Jansen goes into a lounge to hang out on his own time, right, then I will buy the amount of cigars. Like say I plan on smoking 3 cigars in the lounge, right?
Yep.
I will buy 3.
Yep.
Whether or not I smoke those 3
or not,
right? I buy 3. I'll put I smoke one of them. I put 2 in my humidor and I smoke 2 of my own or something, right? But at least you're supporting your place.
You're paying rent for the seat that you're taking.
Yeah. Now I can also see if you only go to one cigar lounge and you buy boxes and you buy a ton of cigars and everything in your personal humidor you have purchased from that lounge, it's probably okay to smoke.
But you
out of
probably
your
also built a relationship
Yes.
with the people who work there, the owners or managers or whatever.
it's so in that instance, it's probably okay.
Yep.
But if you walk into a brand new lounge you've never been in before, you bring in your own humidor and you smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
You're not helping that lounge at all.
But also don't be shocked if an employee from that lounge comes up and says, "Sir, we do have what's called a cut fee here.
Yeah.
And if you're going to bring your own to smoke your own cigars, you have to pay this cut fee."
And it's usually about the same price as a cigar.
So it's usually $10 or, some lounges are $20, $25 cut fees.
Yeah.
But essentially you're renting that chair.
Because you're doing two things when you go in and you don't buy a cigar from the shop. One, you're not supporting the shop for your own self.
Yeah.
Two, you're taking up a chair where some other person that could support that shop could be sitting. So you're costing them double on a busy day.
Yeah.
So it's something to be aware of.
Yep. It's kind of counterintuitive for what we're talking about on the show. But if you're in a lounge, don't try to tell somebody else how to smoke their cigar. Unless it comes up in like conversation, but don't just walk up to a random guy and be like, "Hey man, you should really touch up that cigar."
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be like, "Hey man, you should really fuck off." Just be polite, you know, act how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you go into a cigar, if you don't know a lot about cigars, ask anybody.
Yeah.
Ask anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the guys that have been smoking forever. Especially the employees that work there. Hey man, I think I kind of like, a medium bodied cigar, and listen to what they tell you. They're usually pretty educated on cigars.
Right.
So honestly, when somebody asks me a question about how to do something or what cigar I recommend, and like I have some follow-on questions for them.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love helping people.
Right.
Because I don't want you as a new cigar smoker to smoke the wrong cigar and be turned off by it and then be like, okay, this isn't for me. Well, right. But that cigar might not be for you. But there's so many different cigars, like, Yeah.
Well, it's like everything else in the world. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you're, trying to get a powerful position by understanding and knowing cigars. But the more knowledge that you have about it and about,
the more enjoyable it'll be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more you're going to figure out what cigars you like and don't like, and the easier your selection process is going to be on what you're going to smoke next and things like that.
Yeah. It comes down to like anything, right? Like when I was a new drinker, right? I just liked cheap domestic beer.
Because it did the job.
It did the job, right?
It wasn't about flavor.
If you would have handed me Woodford Reserve double oaked when I was 18, I probably would not have enjoyed it.
I would have put it in a glass on ice, mixed it with Coke, and got shit-faced.
Yeah, that's true.
But I wouldn't have been like, "Oh, this is a really good. I wonder how much this is. I wonder what's double oaked mean." I would have been like, "Oh, this will work."
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with that half gallon of plastic bottle of military special bourbon. That'll work too.
And that's just that's mainly because John had a youth that was like most other military guys wasn't.
I drank a lot.
Yeah.
But I was there for PT every morning, and
but we didn't necessarily drink to enjoy what we were drinking.
It had nothing to do with the taste of the booze.
Yeah.
It was 100% the effects that alcohol did on a person. Yep. Yeah. Speaking of effects of alcohol that did on a person, let's get into this this new way that I found on how to smoke a cigar.
So you were
I was on a gator hunt,
and you were trying to help a newer smoker.
Well, there's a group of people. There was probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 people that were down there. There's a veteran hunt, doing a gator hunt in South Texas, and we were on the Womack Ranch. I brought a bunch of cigars down because sometimes they're cigar smokers, sometimes they're not. But like we talked about earlier, I always bring extra in case people want to smoke if I'm smoking.
Yeah.
So I brought a bunch of extra cigars, and these guys happen to be cigar smokers. And I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I brought enough." Luckily, I did. I ended up leaving the weekend with like 5 or 6 cigars, so at least I had enough for the ride home. So we're down there.
It's like a 2-hour drive. So 5 or 6 got him home.
It's my biggest fear in life right now is being somewhere and running out of cigars and not being able to get more.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a local shop I can go to that's close or anything like that. And now I'm extremely inconvenienced because I have nothing to smoke until I can find cigars.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear right now in life. But so we're hanging out and we get done running around doing everything we had to do on that first, afternoon, evening that we were there. We just got done with dinner. We're sitting on the back patio and I, of course, light up a cigar and pour myself a whiskey. A couple of the guys, were like, "Oh man, that smells really good." I'm like, "Oh, right over here, there's a humidor. There's cigars in it if you guys want to enjoy them." I was like, they're like, "Oh, well, blah, blah." So I went over the different cigars that I brought down and everything like that. There's a lighter cutter over here, blah, blah, blah. If you guys have any questions on anything, just let me know. Just the same conversation you have with anybody else that, it's like, "Hey, here's cigars. This is what they are." So a bunch of guys grab the cigars. Look, and he's like, "What?" And I was like, typically you don't do it that way because the cigar is might fall apart in your mouth, and it's designed to be cut the other end, and then you smoke it that way, and give him the whole reason of the construction and whatnot. And he's like, "Well, it never blew apart in my mouth." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "It works for me." And so he lit it and he smoked the whole cigar, and it smoked perfectly that way. And so I was like, "I gotta try this."
Yeah. He's never done a cold draw.
Yeah, I know, never, not once. He has no idea what the cigar tastes like unlit. But so he did it, and it worked. And so I tried it, and it worked. And I was like, "No way!"
And then John comes back and tells me this story, and I'm like, "I've never done this."
Yeah.
So today will be the first day.
Yep. So this is a new way. It's a no cut light. And you do it backwards on the cigar. I'm not even going to take the band off so that we can see. So this side is cut. This side is not. This is just right out of the package. And you just put it backwards and you light it. Let's see what happens.
The initial draw is a little hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really
it just opened up.
There's nothing to like suck through because the cigar, the head of the cigar is closed. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so right out the gate,
if it's stupid and it works, it's not really that stupid.
Right out the gate, I get a very different flavor on this cigar.
Absolutely.
And I think it's because you're lighting that wrapper.
you're lighting 3 layers
Of wrapper. Yeah.
right? So they say when you smoke, like they say like your wrapper's like 70% of your flavor, right?
Yep.
And so, yes, the initial light was way different.
Way different. Because you were smoking the same cigar earlier.
Like
Yep.
2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Way different flavor because it's all
wrapper.
It's all the rosado, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. But it smokes. It smokes just fine.
And now it tastes the same.
Yep. I got no tobacco in my mouth.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't have a perfectly straight burn line.
Yeah, me either.
But it's still getting over the shoulder of the head of the cigar. So we'll see what happens once it gets through. I don't know. What would you even call it? The final third? Once it gets through the final third, it works to the second third. And then I'm working towards the first third.
Well, I usually throw a lot of my final thirds away. So we'll see what this does.
This is my favorite part of the cigar now. I'm going to smoke all my cigars backwards.
So a lot of people think when you have the veins of the leaf in a cigar that's bad. That's not always bad because that's where a lot of your flavor is.
Yeah.
And it's there to help the cigar burn. And it's normal to have veins, right? So when you roll a cigar, typically all your veins point toward the head of the cigar.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you're smoking all the thicker part of the veins of the leaf. So that it's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah. And so once again, it'll light, it'll smoke, it'll work. The guy's not wrong. He's literally smoking a cigar backwards.
Yeah.
Not cutting it, like against everything that traditionally you would call the norm of how you smoke a cigar. But it smokes.
It does smoke.
It tastes the same.
Once you get past
that initial light.
Yeah.
Do you have any tobacco in your mouth? Is it falling apart? Is it doing?
No.
So why do you think, this is just pure opinion, why do you think that the world is supposed to smoke the cigar the other way?
The right way.
Why?
Yeah.
Do you think this is straight conspiracy theory, but do you think like somebody who created a cutter and was like, oh, maybe we should teach people to smoke a cigar where you have to use this cutter?
Well, I tell you what, this would not work on a closed foot cigar.
That's true.
This would not work on, say, a Salomon.
Maybe.
Not really. No, because it's so tight. It's so tight right there. You never. It would be interesting on a torpedo.
I think you'd run into burn issues on a torpedo because you're trying to light a point.
Well, no more than a Salomon, probably.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, but it works. It smokes. But that was the craziest thing when I heard that. Hey, I smoke these cigars backwards because I don't have to cut them.
If it's stupid and it works, it's not that stupid.
It's not.
So, hey, it's the first time. Might not be the last.
Right. I just finally got a piece of tobacco in my mouth. Yeah. So we covered some do's and don'ts. We covered a little bit of lounge stuff. We lit a cigar backwards to prove that it works.
Yeah.
Which kind of solidifies that there's no right or wrong way to do this. There's recommendations, but
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, can I throw another question at y'all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this one a couple of times of people that have come in. When you go into a humidor and you pull a cigar out of a box and it's still in the cellophane, can you smell through cellophane?
Can the cellophane?
Probably not.
So typically no.
And especially when you're in a humidor, you're just smelling the air that's in the humidor.
Right.
Right. If you want to get a smell of a cigar, you almost have to do it on the open end And even so, like that's not real good etiquette when you're in a humidor, unless you've already made up your mind that you're purchasing that cigar.
But even then, like what your nose is going to get off that cigar versus what the flavor profiles actually are, two completely different things.
Yeah, like if you've heard people talk about the cold draw and what it tastes like. It never tastes like when it's lit.
No. Yeah.
So,
and same thing, like smelling the tobaccos. You're not really going to get anything off of that that's going to tell you what the cigar is going to taste like. You might be able to tell if the cigar's young or not. Mm-hmm. If you get a hint of like ammonia smell off of the cigar,
it means it hasn't aged.
It just needs a little bit more age. That's it. But even then, like the majority of the cigars that you're going to run into in a shop, they've either been aged, even if it's a brand new cigar that just got released.
Yeah.
Typically, they're going to make sure that ammonia is out of it.
Well, the ammonia goes away in about 60 to 90 days. So, and then, it almost takes that long to get them anyway.
But yeah, if trying to smell a cigar through the cellophane, that's a very new cigar smoker thing to do.
Yeah.
You're never going to see somebody that's been in the industry or been smoking cigars for the majority, of, let's say anything over a couple of years. None of them are going to try to smell a cigar through the cellophane.
Yeah. Or even outside the cellophane.
Not really.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've been guilty of it, of trying to smell a foot of the cigar. And then what happens is I breathe in like the small pieces of tobacco that are
like the dust.
Loose. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I sneeze.
Yeah.
Every single time. So now I just don't smell them anymore. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a good one though.
Cellophane. What else you got? Anything else? So I know you've been in
I'm
with
very,
us long enough now.
I'm in that like middle ground of like I'm still very new, but I've got a few things.
You've been around us long enough,
exactly.
So you've gotten like the advanced course.
Exactly. Yeah, I went from novice to now. People ask me questions, and I'm like, John and Scott are right over there. Why are you asking me this?
Well, most of the questions you're asked, you actually know.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, y'all covered the big ones.
I know. The cellophane one, that was a good one though.
Yeah.
So cellophane does breathe.
It's porous.
Yeah. So it'll allow humidity to get to your cigar.
Yeah.
It's not like a saran wrap.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you can't smell through it.
No.
I've got a question for y'all. We have people coming here and they're newer cigar smokers and they're looking for a cigar, but they don't really know what they're looking for. What do you think they should know when looking for a cigar?
Well, I think they should know. Like I ask, what do they normally smoke that they like? And then if I'm familiar with that cigar, it helps me determine where to put them.
I was going to say I used to ask mild, medium, or full body. What do you normally smoke? Mild, medium, or full body? What I've found out with that is people don't know what they smoke.
Yeah.
Do you have mild, medium, or full body? Oh, I'm only full body. Okay, cool. What are some cigars that you like to smoke? And they'll tell me the like lightest Connecticut that I've ever had. And I was just like, bro, that's not full body. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So if you can remember one or two cigars that you like, that you know that you enjoy, and when you go into Humidor and you're trying to find something new and you're talking to the guy who's running the Humidor or an employee from that shop, and you're like, I normally smoke X and Y.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that's close to it? They're going to recommend you a cigar.
Yeah.
They are. It might not be the perfect cigar for you, but it's a very good start to try to expand what you normally smoke. But if like I said, if you're mild, medium, full body, you're like, oh, I only smoke full body.
So another newbie answer to that question is, what do you normally smoke? And they give me a brand.
Yeah.
Right. That's like, what do you normally drive? Chevys. Oh, so you're a Chevy Volt guy. Or are you a Chevy Camaro guy? Or are you a Chevy Dually guy?
Yeah.
Right. Like the brand, like for example, Warfighter
we have 10 different blends.
10 different blends that are vastly different from each other, right? We have everything from very mild to very bold. Not very, we got some bolder ones. But, so if somebody comes in and they say, I smoke this brand, well, then I know they don't really know what they're talking about. And so then I'll ask, well, how much do you want to spend? How many cigars would you like? And if they tell me the 5 or 6 range, I'll recommend they get a sampler pack. And that way they get the range.
Right.
And then I'll recommend that they remember which ones they prefer out of the sample pack.
Yeah.
And then that way we kind of know where to go from there for the next time. But yeah, you have to know, in the cigar industry makes it hard, right? Like some brands, it's hard to know what model you're smoking.
And we're guilty of it.
We are guilty of it because
we're working on changing it, but we're guilty of it.
Because but if you read the band, it's on there. But the problem is, if anybody's like me, I can see something 1 second and totally not remember what it is the next second.
Yeah. What's a guy off of what was it, 51st Dates?
Right.
2 Minute Tom or whatever. And that's all his memory was just 2 minutes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
so they do make like little cigar books that you can make notes and you can rate it how you rate it, like a journal, cigar journal. Right. And so like I would recommend that for a new person.
And they have ones that have a little spot where you can actually like glue or tape the band on the page too. So you can correlate all your tasting notes and how well you liked it or didn't like it with the actual band of this cigar.
Now, if there's a cigar you really enjoy, right, I would Google or try to read the box or whatever, what that cigar is made of. Like what are the different types of tobaccos?
Where and what country they came from, what regions.
And then you smoke your next one that you might like. And okay, they're different, but I like this one. And then you look, okay, what's the same in these two cigars? Well, it's this kind of tobacco. Okay, so then you start looking for cigars with that type of tobacco. Like I like Brazilian tobacco. I for some reason I like Brazilian tobacco, and so there's a cigar that makes 100% Brazilian cigar. And it's 3 different Brazilian types of tobacco, and I love that cigar.
It's actually called the Brazilian.
Yeah, it's called. Easy for me to remember.
I actually started doing that recently. I've smoked when I first started working at Warfighter. I've only smoked Warfighter mainly because I was like, if someone comes up to me and asks me about a Warfighter cigar, I need to be able to answer it. But I've grown a collection of other brands, and so I've gotten to the point where I will smoke it, and then exactly what you said, I'll do a Google review or Google search, find a review, and I'll look at what wrapper's in here, what's the binder, what's the filler, what are the tasting notes this person's getting compared to what I'm getting, and then the most important part is I'm like, what am I finding that I like from the cigar? Am I liking the body of it? Does it have a little spice that I like? And so that's definitely helped me as I've kind of grown my cigar knowledge of like, I know that I like a little bit of spice. I don't like a lot of spice. I like a little bit. I like a smoother, a more medium body. Like now I can go into a humidor and be like, oh, I know I like this.
And then you can tell the sales guy, this is what I like.
Exactly.
Find me a cigar that fits that. And so, I mean, it's hard when you're like on cigar number 4, where you're like, okay, now I need to go buy what I like. Well, you don't know yet. You just, at that point, it's still experiment. I'd say you need to get to about cigar 20 or 30. And then you can really kind of say, okay, this might be what I prefer.
This conversation leads me into some subliminal messages that we have going on in this podcast.
Okay.
Right. So we were talking about learning how to get those flavors out of the cigar, figuring out what you like. You're developing your palate.
Yeah.
Right. And then you talked earlier about a cigar journal.
Okay.
Right. So we have Cigar Journal, which is an actual publication in the cigar industry.
It's a magazine as well.
Yeah. And Developing Palates is also they're a review channel for cigars in the cigar industry. So, but yes, it does take a while to develop your palate, just like drinking wine or drinking whiskey or scotch or tequila, or even food. Do you know what I mean? Like you think you had a good steak until you had a really good steak.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to that other steak and you realize, oh, I've been eating shitty steaks my whole life.
Yeah.
Because you're developing your palate to pick out flavors that are more complex.
Like when your 6-year-old finally goes from chicken nuggets to I want a double cheeseburger. I mean, like,
yep.
it's the same situation, right?
Yeah. I mean, Justin still has Hot Pockets for lunch, but
yeah,
It's called meal prep. All right. Don't shame me.
But it takes a while of smoking different cigars for your palate to mature enough to be able to be like, you know what, I like this.
But if you're smoking cigars and you're not paying attention to what's in them and you're just smoking them to smoke them, then you're not actually learning.
Right.
That's why I would say dig into like what
pay attention to
what's in a cigar that you actually like.
The coolest part is, I mean, for us, it doesn't happen that often just because we smoke while we're working, we smoke while we're doing everything else. But that chance where I get to have a cigar and I get to sit down and I don't have anything else that I have to do. And most of the time, I'll pay attention to about half of that cigar.
Yeah.
And then I'll get squirreled with my phone or a conversation or something else that's going on in my environment. But if I can sit there and I can actually pay attention to this cigar, I appreciate smoking that cigar, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And it's because I put myself in a mental state where everything else that I have going on in my life kind of gets put on a back burner and I focus on the cigar for whatever, like I said, even if it's half the cigar, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, where I can actually decompress a little bit and then focus on enjoying something instead of like my brain going 1,000 miles a minute and I got this I got to do and that I got to do and this is next week and blah, blah, blah. So it's relaxing. It's nice. Yeah.
Like I'll smoke cigars in the evening. I'll watch TV outside, smoke a cigar. But I'll enjoy the cigar more if the TV's not on and my phone's not in my hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Gets you focused.
Yeah. I think about it. Yeah. And you do the retrohale and you really get to know the flavors. Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, where are we at for time?
We're right at about 50 minutes, boys.
Oh, cool. Well, any other pressing matters? Because I know we covered a lot on this episode.
Yeah.
We're kind of not really all over the place, but like I said, we could go on for days about do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is episode 2.
It is.
And we haven't released the first one quite yet. We haven't released the Facebook page. We haven't got any feedback. So we're going off of just us talking right now.
Yeah.
But we want some some listener feedback. And so once this hits, there'll probably be 2-3 episodes at the same time they're released. But
leave questions in the comments if you guys want us to talk about something or explain something or go into detail about something about Warfighter, any of our blends, any of our products, any of our beliefs, whatever. Leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear from us. That on the show. Keep it family rated ish. If it's something that we're not going to talk about, we just won't. But
yeah, that's what our other podcast is for.
Yeah. It's for all the R-rated, X-rated shit. But how's your cigar smoking?
It's good.
So you're about halfway through it.
Yeah. It tastes like a normal one now.
Yeah.
Like
any issues, anything that's not working how it should be because you're smoking that cigar backwards.
No, it's staying wrapped and it's smoking just fine.
I mean, I have a really good burn line. Nothing's falling apart on it. It's not unraveling.
Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Yep. There's more than one way to smoke a cigar. We're finding out today. You could smoke it backwards without even cutting it. Yeah. I wonder how much shit we're going to get for this.
I'm going to do this in front of Gonzalo and see what he says.
Just see. You got to do it like you need to get like an Opus X.
No. When we're down at the factory doing a test blend.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna fucking put it in my mouth and light the wrong end. Just see what he said.
That would be funny. We you know what we should do? We should think about doing this at the trade show, and we go to other brands and we have a conversation with that brand owner, and we trade cigars and do whatever we need to do. But we get one of theirs and we light it up in front of them backwards, just to see their reaction.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Like Arturo Fuente would say if you lit up one of his cigars backwards in front of him.
I don't know. I don't know what he would say if I lit one the correct way in front of him. So,
I think it'd be funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, go give it a try. Let us know what you guys think. Smoke a cigar backwards. Let me know.
I'm looking forward to smoking this one backwards because I got that candela.
That's all the candela that I want.
That I purposely put there so I would never actually have to smoke it. But now that I've done this, I want to smoke the night shift backwards.
Just to see.
Yeah, it's like a mini barber pole, you know. Like
you'll get the Habano Oscuro cap. And then you'll get a hit of candela,
which I probably won't enjoy.
And then it'll go back to the flavor of the cap.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to doing the night shift backwards.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for more shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah. We're working on those guests and working on we'll just try to make this a good podcast for you guys. So
yeah.
There's not really topics that are off limits. So we're gonna stay away from politics. We're gonna stay away from current events
and religion.
Other than that, you can hit us with almost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, until next week, guys, have fun. Smoke all the cigars, drink all the whiskey.
Smoke them forward, backwards, doesn't matter. Light them however you want. Cut them however you want.
Light one in the middle next time, see what happens. No. I know what you're thinking. Absolutely not.
It's got to be a long cigar.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Was that like Lady and the Tramp, right?
That'd be so weird. Like, do I look at the cigar? Do I make direct eye contact with you? Like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
We'll have to get like the Woody. It's like, what?
That's too long.
You want to be closer to me?
Yeah, I was thinking like a Robusto or something.
We got Minuteman. We could smoke one of those and light it in the middle.
See, it doesn't matter if you're gay. It doesn't matter.
What does being gay have to do with smoking a cigar?
Nothing. It's
just if you're smoking one end and I'm smoking the other, we light it in the middle
of the same cigar. That's I don't know. It's like how gay chicken starts, I think.
It's definitely not how it ends. On that note, you guys have fun, and we'll see you next week.